This right here next to me is a new Ram Rebel, which is an off-road specialized truck with a few options and a V8 engine. It costs about $56,000.
And this is Blaze. Blaze is a Bernese Mountain Dog, but behind Blaze is the brand new Ram 1500 TRX, a 6.2 liter supercharged half-ton truck that comes in at $91,500. So $35,000 more than that well-equipped Rebel. And the question we're answering today is it worth it?
Let's find out.
All right, Andre, now let's start out with design. What can you tell me about the way they look?
Well, you're the expert of Ram grills as far as I understand, but this Ram has been around since 2019, right? We actually owned one for about a year. So this is a pretty standard affair. It has a width of a regular full-size truck.
Yeah, and the Rebel is the off-road trim of the standard Ram 1500.
Yes.
So it's got, better tires for off-road. It sits a little bit higher. It's got this big bash plate in the front with these recovery points. So the Rebel on itself looks like a pretty off-road worthy truck.
Yes.
Until you stack it up against the TRX. Now, the TRX was supposed to be a Ram 1500 Rebel with the supercharged V8, but what it turned out being is a largely different truck, right, Andre?
Yeah, well, we call it actually a super truck because it's not about the engine only, right? We'll talk about the engine, we'll pop the hoods in a second, right? But this is supposed to be like the ultimate off-road offering from FCA and Ram. It's got a wide body, it's got long travel suspension, it has unique styling. You see the grills are different. The Ram is big letters, flow through for all the air. It's got a hood scoop. What doesn't it have?
Well, what it doesn't have, Andre, is the large vertical headlights of the Rebel. So, if you look at them in pictures, they look fairly similar, but side by side, you can see that the whole front fascia is actually different. So they've actually shrunk down the headlights on the TRX compared to the standard Rebel. Now, in terms of hoods, Andre, you pointed out the big air grabber here in the front of the hood. You can see here, this is wide enough to the point where they had to put marker lights on it, but it's more than that. Along the side of the hood, you also have 6.2 liter supercharged emblems there. And you can see the actual flares themselves are very different when you come to the side of the truck. So not only is the plastic taller and wider, but the actual sheet metal flares out more than it does on the Ram 1500.
Yeah, and also on the TRX, as you were mentioning it also has this air inlet, right? And the Ram designers were talking about, aerodynamics. This is a very giant and heavy truck. So the air comes in here, but check it out. It can also leave right here. So
wow.
They were thinking about aerodynamics, although, yeah, we'll talk about engines and fuel efficiency next because the differences are insane.
Let's pop the hood on the Rebel.
Okay.
Now, in the Ram 1500 lineup, you have a ton of engine options ranging from the base 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 all the way up to the supercharged V8, but this is kind of right in the middle, and this is the fairly standard engine you'll see in most 1500 Rams, right?
Yeah, and it also has the e-torque option, which is a mild hybrid system. The 5.7 liter Hemi in this generation has been around for quite a few years. 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. It has an 8-speed automatic transmission backing this up. And the other option is a diesel. You can also get a diesel in one of these trucks.
Oh, that's right. They have the 3-liter Eco Diesel as well. That one always slips through the crack in my head. Now let's kind of pop the hood on the TRX and see the heart of the beast.
Oh yes, and then we should do a rev battle too.
So Ram won't tell you that this is a Hellcat engine, but I'm here to tell you that this is a Hellcat engine. It isn't all that changed over the engine you'd find in like a Challenger or a Charger. There are a couple of noticeable differences. First of all, there's a giant dinner table on top of the engine, so you can't see much. But they also moved the alternator up. They've changed the exhaust around a little bit. But tell me about the figures on this big supercharged V8.
It's nuts. And at the beginning of the video, we said, is the TRX worth another $35,000? And the power numbers are crazy. 702 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. And if you look on this side, you can kind of see the orange valve covers and the big supercharger that's hiding under there.
Yeah, for sure. It's located right up there on the top of the engine. And even though they don't want to say Hellcat, now I'm going to show you the coolest part of this whole engine.
Okay.
You ready? This is the airbox. Look at that! That is a T-Rex eating a Raptor, because of course the TRX competes directly with the Ford F-150 Raptor.
Yeah, I mean, that's what kind of they were going up against. And if you look at the spec sheet, spec for spec, the TRX has about the same ground clearance, same approach departure angles, but crazy acceleration times. The ground clearance is around 11.8 inches, which is about 1 inch more than the Rebel. So it's not crazy difference when you compare it to the Rebel, but this truck's supposed to accelerate in 4.5 seconds according to Ram.
So look at this hood scoop.
260.
You can see that it actually sucks air directly from the hood scoop into the airbox there, but it also is able to receive air for the engine in several other places. Now, like I said, they move the alternator to the top of the engine versus down low on the Hellcat powered cars. A couple other differences too. Believe it or not, they both use a similar style radiator. So they didn't have to develop some crazy radiator for the TRX. They were able to use the 5.7 liter radiator, and then they just gave it a ton of extra breathing space here. But of course, giant superchargers, like a 2.4 liter supercharger, just you know, crazy numbers. And then when it comes to the exhaust, it's the longest exhaust they've had to put on any Hellcat powered vehicle, and that's kind of what saps the power just a little bit. So like on a Challenger or Charger, I think the rating is 717, so it's a little bit less here because the air has so much further to travel to the back of the vehicle, but still it has over, well, what, 250 more horsepower than the Raptor?
Yeah, and 702 and 395, that's a crazy difference to the Rebel.
Over 300 horsepower over the Rebel.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's pull it down
absurd.
and talk about wheels and tires.
Well, that's huge, and suspension is another huge thing. So let's start with the tires. We'll also let you hear these trucks. The sound is, I mean, spectacular on this. The Rebel is rolling on these Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack tires, which are pretty aggressive, pretty nice. About a 33-inch diameter. So if you're measuring these tires, let me actually check that. It's usually a little bit less in real life because of the weight of the truck. It's about 32 and a half. Oops, sorry. 32 and a half right there.
Hang on, Andre, pause for a sec. I gotta have Squirrel and Gerbil close the hood here.
What?
I apologize, I didn't slam it. Oh, look at that strength. All right,
continue.
continue.
Oh, your Squirrel and Gerbil are amazing. And then this is a brand new tire. So I want to put this truck to the test and actually see exactly what this does. Goodyear Wrangler Territory AT all-terrain tires. Blaze, what do you think? Do you want to check this out? Let's measure it, Blaze.
It's taller than Blaze.
It's well taller than Blaze. It's supposed to be 35s. With the weight of the truck, it's at about 34 right here. So this is extra, by the way. Beadlock capable wheels. This truck has a lot of options, actually. The TRX starts at about $71,000.
Oh, it's practically free.
This is $20,000 more.
Even the base TRX is whoa.
Yeah.
You gotta be making a lot of money to afford it. Now, interesting little factoid about the beadlock wheels. The reason that they're always beadlock capable is because per DOT rules, they can't sell you a beadlock wheel from the factory, because the idea is if you get into an emergency situation, on a standard wheel, you'll slip the tire off the wheel before you roll the truck. If your bead is locked onto the wheel via some bolts, you'd actually roll the truck first before the tire would slip off the rim. So that's why they can't do it, but it doesn't mean you can't do it aftermarket and convert them.
Yeah, you could. It's capable for a reason.
So I have an interesting thing,
yes.
a little thing to say about these. These are a rock rails, what they call them.
Yes.
Right? Clearly not much of a step, right? That's not particularly helpful.
No, but they're pretty solidly mounted. I checked underneath. 11 bolts, dude. 11 bolts.
And they say it's for off-roading.
Yes.
But it will take half the vehicle's weight.
Not the full one?
Not the full. So apparently if you get half of it stuck, you'll be fine, but not the full. Anyways, it's nice to have a little bit of side protection here, because on our videographer's truck, this is owned by Alex, our videographer, there's nothing there.
It's okay. Rebels have additional steps, or steps that Ram offers as well.
I do like this a lot. You can get this on the Rebel too, but the two-tone paint is super cool. Just having that little bit of contrast between the lower and the portion of the door and the upper portion. Now let's kind of continue back to the rear. Once again, you see just how much further stance this truck is in terms of width than the standard Ram Rebel. I mean, there's almost no bulge here, almost no flare, and when you compare that to the TRX,
yeah, that's no
insane.
fun. That's no fun.
And you can kind of see the shock there, Andre.
Yeah, so we got to talk about, this is where TRX makes its money. It's got, first of all, a unique frame, about 75% new structure of the frame. It's a lot heavier, a lot beefier. And then the suspension system is different. These are Bilstein shocks, active shocks, which means they're receiving a signal from the truck's computer, and they're constantly adjusting, they're valving. You can see one of these wires right here, kind of coming up to the shock. Remote reservoirs still, you can see this steel braided line going over there. These are massive shocks. I think Ram was saying probably the largest shocks they've ever put on any vehicle as far as size. Like we said, the truck is way wider than the Rebel, about 6 inches wider. The Rebel also has Bilstein shocks.
Well, let me show you those. Now, the cool thing about these Bilsteins, very high-tech stuff, they're yellow.
Okay.
That's the end of the discussion of the shock absorbers on the Rebel. Now, speaking of the rear end, Andre,
yeah,
we can point out something interesting. They're both 6-lug wheels, right?
Yes.
So they both have a fairly standard half-ton setup there. But the rear differential portion is entirely new on the, I should say the rear axle system is new on the TRX. So it's got a full floating rear axle. And they actually have incorporated a third shock absorber in the rear end to prevent movement or to dampen the movement as you're jumping and going up and down big giant whoops.
And also putting down the 702 horsepower.
Exactly, so you don't get so much of that that axle twist back there. So there's another one kind of mounted in the center of the axle as well. Look at the badging. Look at that.
That's about $495, by the way.
This?
Yes.
That's $495?
Well, all the badging, not just this.
But there's not that much of it. I want it to be like TRX with like a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex on the side, and I want it to be like shooting flames. Like, that is a little subtle. You know, the very cool looking truck. Ram did a great job, but let's add the flames, boys. Let's make it a little bit crazy. Your friends over in Dearborn are doing some pretty wild graphics here. Let's step that up a little. But around back here, you'll see the bed sizes are pretty similar between the trucks. Isn't that right, Andre? Except for this. Someone has parked a wheel in your bed. What's going on?
They did. The bed sizes are basically identical. This is still a Ram 1500 truck, but this has a few options. This has this Mopar accessory spare wheel bed mounted tire carrier, which is $995. I have my cheat sheet, Monroney, right here. Also, the beadlock capable aluminum wheels we just talked about, $1895. The TRX exterior graphics by Mopar, $495, and the rock rails by Mopar we just showed you is $995. So that's already quite a few $1,000 of options.
So we should explain why they do this, because it's not just here to take up your bed space. This is here for a reason. This actually adds a second spare tire on the TRX. So typically, you know, if you're out in the desert, you're going to have the one spare tire, of course, mounted underneath. But if you go this route, you've got another spare for if you're doing really hardcore stuff. Luckily, underneath, if you take a look, Alex, you do get a proper spare. So it's not some all-season thing. It's a proper Goodyear tire.
Yeah, and also it's a 35, so it's good to know that the 35 fits. Also, these giant kind of a tow hooks, recovery hooks, Raptor started doing this, back a few years ago. Now Ram TRX is doing it too.
And you can see here they actually incorporated the little marker lights down there. And then, of course, you got your full hitch there as well.
Let me start it up. Let's start both trucks really quick.
Okay, yeah, let's see what it sounds like.
Okay, and I'll also start the light, turn on the lights.
All right, I'm expecting big things. Big things. Oh. Come on now. That sounds incredible. So much larger exhaust tips, much more free-flowing than the Rebel in the back here by the TRX. Blaze, incredibly amused. He got so excited he had to pick up a stick.
Really?
To contain his excitement.
That means the visceral sound was there.
But let's compare that side by side to the Rebel.
Okay. Hemis always sound great, especially the 5.7 here, but yeah, the 5-inch exhaust tips and that big Hellcat engine I think takes the cake, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, hang on, he's eating some kind of weird leafy thing.
Oh my god, he almost swallowed it.
That's puppy life right there. But in all seriousness, the 6.2 just sounds incredible. Probably the best sounding pickup truck on the market from the factory.
Let's go inside, dude, because there's a lot of tricks that the TRX has.
Well, let's start with the Rebel because we gotta ease into them. Also, it's YouTube, and per the laws of YouTube, we have to make you wait.
Oh, no, this is all good stuff. If you've been watching TFL Truck and TFL Off-Road, you know we showed this truck before. Actually, we compared it to several other trucks, the Gladiator, Chevy Trail Boss, and this interior. I mean, they started in 2019, and it still, you know, stands the test of time.
Oh yeah, no, it looks really, really good. Now, Alex has this truck equipped with the 12-inch display. Oh, hang on, the dog is chasing after someone. Take it off, Andre. Keep going.
Okay. As I was saying in the beginning, dude, this is a Rebel with a few options, right? $56,000 for this particular truck, 12-inch infotainment screen, all the luxuries you can think of, you know, leather seats. All of your controls are at hand down here. Four-wheel drive, auto, high, low. But this is one difference between the Rebel and TRX, which is pretty huge. The Rebel still has two-wheel drive mode, which means you can completely disconnect the front axle, right?
Right, so you can do your mad skids in the Rebel. But for some reason, the TRX only has full-time four-wheel drive back there.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about some other things. You know, that little knob.
Yes.
That's something people either love or hate on the Rebel.
Yeah.
Foot on the brake, and then you twist it to select park, reverse, neutral, and drive. And
Right
then
here.
to actually select the gear, Andre, if you're towing a big load, you've got the gear limit on the steering wheel.
Yeah, and this is kind of, these are small buttons. I never really liked these buttons. But still, the steering wheel is pretty nice. You still have, you know, your brake controller, your traction control off, your tow haul mode. But that's kind of the extent of it. Although this center console is still very, very useful. One of the most useful center consoles in the market. You have deep storage here, another level of storage here, huge storage here. So all of this stuff is great.
Right, but in terms of drive modes, like there's no selectable drive modes per se.
No.
Whereas,
Well, tow haul mode is the only selectable
right,
one.
and we'll talk about the TRX in a sec. But you just have a whole selection of every kind of off-road terrain mode you can imagine. But you do have USBs in the Rebel right down there. You
Yep.
also have some toggles for your parking sensors above that.
Yep.
And then the screen itself is highly functional, so it of course has, you know, your standard Apple CarPlay functionality, but it's all touchscreen. It's all incorporated into the center.
And let me show you something. This truck obviously has a reverse camera because it's mandated. You have to have it. But we've been waiting for a front-mounted camera on a Ram truck, I think, since I've been alive.
Wow, which is a long time, Andre.
Which is a long time.
Andre came out of his mom and said, "Where is the front-facing cam
On the Ram.
on the Ram? I can't see the terrain I'm driving over."
And then finally, the TRX has it. Let's jump in there.
All right, let's go check it out. Big jump! Whoa! Look at that! What a good boy! Now, if you're curious, you can get the Rebel in a V6, and you can also get it in two-wheel drive if you're a communist. So it is possible to get a non-off-road worthy Rebel. The TRX, you have to get four-wheel drive, and you have to get the big V8. Come on, Blaze. Let's show them the rear seat room. Now, come on, buddy. Even though this truck is a lot wider, the cab itself is pretty much identical to the standard 1500, which means I can scoop up my Bernese Mountain Dog,
Yeah.
plop him back here.
Yep.
Look at the room,
Hi.
Blaze.
You're right, same room, but check this out, Tommy. There are a couple things in the back here that the Rebel does not have.
Like
Are
this
you-
leather that
are
you
you-
feel terrible when your dog gets dust on it? What
No, no,
the
no.
heck, Blazy? Come on.
No. Blaze, can you move your rear end really quick? Can you move just a smidge?
Now he's blocking the whole camera view. Oh boy.
Check this out. So this is a luxury interior. So you have a luxurious option for your rear seats. You got a full center console with cup holders, with storage. This is not available on that Rebel.
I just noticed this as well. Ventilated rear seats. What other truck on the market has ventilated rear seats?
Not many.
And a Molly panel, it looks
Yep.
like.
And you know what else? Does the Rebel have this?
A pillow.
Answer me this.
A computer. What is that?
No. Answer me this. It's a first aid kit provided by FCA and Ram. It has Band-Aids, disinfectant. It's got tools. It's got a giant fire extinguisher in case something interesting happens, and also triangle.
That triangle's got to be worth at least $30,000. That warning triangle. All right,
but
Andre,
this is very thoughtful.
move your Mission Impossible briefcase because I'm going to show what's underneath the seat. Ready?
Uh-huh.
Now they both have this functionality, but you can lift it up. and you have a big flat floor, which would be great for the dog who's run away. But you can also do this weird fold and tumble thing.
Yep.
And now you got a cubby. Look at that. So you can have either or depending on your storage need situation. All right, Andre, hop on and let's show them the interior changes. All right, so first of all, before you get in, hang on, sorry, I lied. Seats, much more heavily bolstered in the TRX and the Rebel for those mad skids that you are going to be doing.
Well, slides, donuts, etc. You said this is a full-time four-wheel drive, but it's adjustable, right? It's always kind of shifting power. You can put, I think, up to about 80% to the back.
It's like 75-25, I think, is the max torque split. And I asked the engineers how the transfer case worked, and they said, son, it's too complicated for your little brain. But basically, it can distribute torque via a set of clutches front and back, depending on the situation.
You're kidding, of course. They did not say that.
They did not say that, but that's what I assumed they would have said if they weren't being so professional.
They're way nicer than that. But the center console is different. So first of all, you get your TRX plate.
Look at this VIN number.
11 PSI boost. 11
PSI boost, 6.2 liter Hemi. This is number 171.
Ooh, but this is very special.
702 horsepower there. It's suede. It's this is riveted in place. But the big change, Andre, is what you find there.
The center mounted shifter for the transmission. And you know, I was driving just here. My hand was resting like this, and I was so comfortable. It felt like I was at home.
Andre sits at home with his hand on a knob, of course. Whoa, not what I was intending.
But you do lose a little bit of center console functionality. You still have a deep space here, and there's a TRX chasing, TRX chasing something. But
look, you've got a little sign here about your 115 volt AC plug here.
Yeah.
And then cup holders.
Yes, 2 cup holders.
It doesn't slide.
And a little bit of storage here, and a wireless charger, and still your USB-Cs, and still a little cubby. Still a lot of functionality, and you're getting your proper shifter right there.
I like this too. This one has the carbon fiber package, so you've got carbon fiber there and the cup holders. So you got lightweight cup holders, you got a lightweight cubby.
Oh yeah!
All very, very snazzy. Now, Andre, tell me about the big ass screen, because you can only get the big ass screen.
Let's fire this up, because I have another couple of secrets. Oh, I just love the way this truck fires up. It's amazing. So first of all, once again, same 12-inch infotainment screen. Not much difference as far as size and kind of the features. But I mean, this is what I have been waiting for all these years. A proper 360-degree camera where you could see in the front. So check this out. I can see the obstacles I'm about to run over. There is an Outback for some reason in front of me.
Oh, bummer.
You see this? You can select different views. You can look out the back, several different views, 360 degree. This is proper.
Yeah, I don't know why Andre was waiting for this for so many years.
Because it wasn't available.
I get that, Andre, but it's a truck. I mean, just look out the window. But anyways, I appreciate that he's excited. It's still the same great 12-inch screen in the Rebel pretty much, but now we have 6 auxiliary switches down below here. This is a really cool thing, so you can use those for your lights, for
winches,
for your other lights.
Winches?
No, realistically, it's just going to be lights. Just like blinding lights constantly.
No, many winches.
Yes, many, yeah.
But also, dude, so they have to compete against the Ford Raptor with this TRX, right?
Yeah,
So if you put this, let me show you. If you put this in 4-low, and right now I'm in 4-wheel drive auto, like we said, 4-wheel drive full time. You can go to 4-high, so you can kind of distribute power a little bit more evenly. Then you can go to 4-low. I'm in neutral, of course. I have to hold this for a few seconds, I think. There's a little click, there's a little bong, and you also have slow speed crawl control right here.
Yeah.
Select speed. Raptor has it, TRX has it.
Now, speaking of the actual differential locks, this does have a rear axle lock, just like the Rebel. I believe in this one, though, you can use it in 4-wheel drive high, too. So on the Rebel, it's only 4-low, but on the TRX, yeah, you can
check it out.
4-high.
Yeah, it's on right now.
And then what about the front differential, Andre?
They said it's related to a limited slip that's in the Wrangler Sport.
Okay, so it's got a...
So it's kind of a limited slip situation.
Now, other things over there, you'll notice, modes.
Modes.
You have different drive modes, which show up there in the center.
Check this out. Yeah, so you can have custom, mud, sand, rock, Baja. Hold on. Baja, please go to Baja. And so what happens in each mode, and also sport, and of course towing, 8,100 pounds of towing, by the way, in the TRX.
Okay.
About 11,000 in the Rebel.
So a lot more in the Rebel.
Yeah. And this truck, I can't believe this still, it weighs about 1,200 pounds more than the Rebel.
Wowzer.
1,200 pounds.
But the off-road modes are great because they not only program throttle and steering, but they also set up the shocks for the terrain that you're going over, which is cool. And then my favorite button is the launch control button.
Launch control!
So you can push the launch control button and then hard on the brake, hard on the gas, and then release the brake and it'll take off. And we'll demonstrate that in videos coming up forward.
Yeah, not right now.
But yeah, it's really cool. Other things that are cool in here. Let's see if I remember how to get to this puppy. Yeah, thank you, Andre. There are different screens.
Yeah, there's TRX pages.
Performance pages, here we go. So you can actually see the vehicle metrics in this, all in the center page here. Thank you, Andre, I was slowly dying here. Oh, now I gotta push the button again.
It's loading, it's loading, it's loading.
It is, the screen's very quick except for the performance pages, which takes so long to load. Come on, come on. So you can see what the suspension and wheel articulation are doing. You have different engine statistics here in terms of in terms of G-forces, torque, horsepower, gauges, timers, and then you can set up the launch control system in there as well. Other things on the TRX, ready? Ready, Alex? Bam!
Rear view mirror camera.
Rear facing camera, yep. This one, of course, has the full panoramic sunroof in it as well.
And a heads-up display.
And the heads-up display, which is the first ever in an FCA product.
Yeah, right here.
But the best feature by far...
What is it?
Steering wheel.
Yes, steering wheel is well shaped. Of course, this has carbon fiber inlay and also paddle shifters. And paddle shifters are a little bit interesting because they're kind of split over here, because you also have your kind of stereo system controls in the back. This has adaptive cruise control system. I mean, this is loaded with technology as far as anything you can imagine. Mirrors are pretty good. You have spotter mirrors on both sides, driver and passenger. So even though those fenders in the back are very wide and giant, I can still feel like I can kind of tell what the truck is doing.
Yep, and then the heads-up display is they made a big deal about that as well. All right, Andre, now we do have to talk about one unfortunate feature of the TRX. Alex, I'm going to have you hop out and shoot Andre's driver's door jamb.
What?
That's the hint. Let's see if Andre can figure it out. All right, Andre, did you figure out the issue?
No.
Oh, it has to do with the GVW. Do you want to explain it?
Oh, so I don't know if you can tell this. Payload on this truck, and this is fully optioned, 966 pounds. Yeah, so the TRX with all the options, including the extra spare tire, all the features. This also has the Harman Kardon's premium stereo system, but it has under 1,000 pounds of payload.
So I'll put this in perspective. 960 pounds, right?
Yes.
You said. So if you have an 8,100 pound trailer, that means you'll have about 810 pounds of tongue weight.
Yes.
Which means you're going to exceed GVWR if you're over 150 pounds. No, 156 pounds,
which
you're fine.
I am.
Yeah, 157 pounds, you're not fine. So that is a pickle. Whereas the Rebel has over 1,000 pounds of payload.
Yeah, this one is about 1,480
So
pounds.
in terms of like truck stuff.
But dude, you can still tow a sizable trailer with a couple of people. It's okay.
Well, we'll let the comments decide that, won't we?
Yes.
All right, let's conclude it, Andre. So we've seen the Rebel, we've seen the crazy width and the crazy engine.
Yes.
Would you pay $35,000 more for the TRX or save your money and get a Rebel?
Yes, I would, absolutely. I may not get the extra spare tire. I may not want to get the heads-up display. I may not want to get a couple other things. I may save about $4,000. But dude, TRX, that supercharger noise, that V8 sound, the acceleration, the comfort, the suspension system, yes.
I mean, you know, credit where credit's due. The TRX is just it's a piece de resistance in terms of technology, in terms of just the craziness you can get. You know, over 700 horsepower. But we're talking about a $91,000 half-ton pickup truck, and I just think that is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of Americans.
It is, I agree.
And that's why I would say save the $35,000 and buy the Rebel. You don't. It's not doesn't make you feel special. It's certainly not as crazy quick, but it's still pretty good off-road. You can tow more, you can haul more, and you have $35,000 left over for toys. So whereas this truck, you buy it and you bring it to the desert course, you could buy this truck, the Rebel, and then tow with that $35,000 left over an ATV and a side-by-side and a trailer and a dirt bike and another side-by-side, and still have room left over to buy like 10 Blazes. And how could you not want 10 Blazes?
Well,
so that's my argument for the Rebel.
But does the Rebel have a Baja mode by itself, which allows you to go crazy fast off-road?
No.
And jump?
No, it does not.
Okay. Well, help us figure this out in the comments below. Let us know if the TRX is actually worth $35,000 extra over a Ram Rebel. And of course, go back to where?
TFLoffroad.com for the latest and greatest in off-road comparisons, because I know what you're commenting. You didn't drive these trucks, you didn't off-road them, you didn't jump them. We get that. That's coming up soon. This is just the first side-by-side comparison.
A lot is coming.